I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm Tanya Cook, Vice Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the committee meetings this morning, June 1st, 2022. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Safety briefing. I'd like to invite our Vice President of Safety and Security, Shane Hunter, to provide a briefing regarding protocol for all individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency. Shane.
Good morning, Shane Hunter, Vice President of Safety and Security. We are on the first floor here in the boardroom at M.U.D headquarters. The normal entry and exit that we all came through this morning at the back of the room is the primary, but there is an alternate exit here on this side of the room. It's behind this door as well that we'll find the nearest fire extinguisher, and further down the hallway yet, the nearest first aid kit and AED. With the location of the AED in mind, can I have a show of hands of who's CPR and AED trained? All right, thank you. Should there be a medical emergency in this room, 911 will be contacted by the security desk, who will then escort emergency medical personnel into this space. Although no severe weather is expected today, it's important to remember that the severe weather shelter is through the same door in that hallway. And if we need to evacuate this building for any reason today, we'll go through this same door, take two lefts, and meet up in the parking garage, where we'll have an accountability of everyone's presence. That concludes the safety briefing.
Thank you very much. Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Bigley.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Frost. McGowan. Howard.
Here. The Open Meetings Act. I'd like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. And our first thing on the agenda, construction and operations. Senior Vice President and Chief Operations Officer Gina Langle will review the capital expenditures.
Good morning. Gina Langle, Senior Vice President, Chief Operations Officer. Behind tab 5, you'll find our capital expenditures letter. Of the 10 items, I'll be covering a total of 5 of them on the letter today. Under systems improvement, as you can see from the map that's being shown, there are 6 items under systems improvement. They're in subdivisions 3, 5, and 6, and I will be covering 4 of those items today. The first item is on page 2. It's item number 2. It's for $332,100. Assess the condition of 2,200 feet of 12-inch water main along J Street from 67th Street to 72nd Street, and assess the condition of 4,400 feet of 4-inch water main along 72nd Street from Mercy to Little Papillion Creek, just north of Pacific Street. This request is to utilize the C-Snake inline inspection technology that is offered by Pipeline Inspection and Condition Analysis Corporation, which is PICA, to evaluate the condition of the 12-inch main on J Street and the 12-inch mains on 72nd Street. You'll remember that we've done this before, and we're going to continue to do some of the condition assessment. So along J Street, we'll cover that first. You can see the map that is up on the screen right now. This particular main has had 6 main breaks. The last one was in 2021. It is a 12-inch cast iron main, and it was installed in the 1950s. We've been communicating with the customers and including some in-person meetings with us because it has a lot of industrial customers along this way. This shutdown will be done in mid-July. The first one, part of it will be to install the launching and receiving pipe, and it's about a 4-hour outage for that. The C-Snake inspection itself will be completed at the end of July. It's about an 8-hour outage for that. This work will be done on a Sunday to minimize any public or customer impacts that will be happening. The second project for this is on 72nd Street, and this again is from Mercy to north of Pacific Street. And as you probably know, in this area, there's quite a few customers that are in this area that would be affected by this. This water main is under paving. There have been 7 water main breaks on it. The last one was in 2020. The 12-inch is mostly cast iron. It was installed in the 1950s, but there's also some ductile iron that was installed about 20 years ago. This shutdown will be also in mid-July to have the launch and the receiving pipe done, and that's about a 4-hour outage for it. Work done after hours will be done to minimize the traffic impact in the water service for the customers. And the sea snake inspection will be done at the end of July. It'll be a 12-hour outage. This work actually will be done overnight in order to make sure that we don't have public or customer impacts, for it. It takes approximately 2 months to get the assessment report, and we will have this subsequent repairs done. We expect either late 2022 or early 2023. The next items that I'd like to cover are items 4, 5, and 6. They are, item number 4 is $70,720. It's to replace water services on 30th and Emmett Streets. Item number 5 is $61,880, and it's to replace water lead services on 25th and Woolworth Avenue, and also item number 6, which is $79,560 to replace water lead services on 38th Street and Fowler Avenue. I'm covering these all together. They're on items. They're on pages 2 and 3. So these items are projects that are proposed for a pilot for lead water service replacement pilot program. The total cost for all of these are $212,000. This has not been budgeted. We will be using funding from another project that was delayed that's been delayed for a couple of years. We'll be using that funding to do this. Management is proposing that we complete 3 lead service line replacement projects. There's a total of 24 services at an estimated cost of $8,840 per service. The pilot project is anticipated to start in June of 2022. The goal of this pilot is to test the viability of starting a lead service replacement program at full scale. The pilot project will help minimize risk, collect cost data, and reveal deficiencies prior to committing to substantial resources to this project. These pilot projects were locations were selected because each of the projects has a child care center on it, and also the city of Omaha will be doing some paving projects in those areas. So it's the best time for us to get in and to be able to do that to limit our costs. There's approximately 3 residential blocks that will be replaced as part of this pilot. And though the district does not own the water services, the revised lead and copper rule is expected to put the responsibility of replacing these services on water utilities. The rule is not expected to dictate who will fund the replacements. The funding of the replacement is the largest question at this time. However, recent state legislative action will allow us to submit up to 58% of the cost to be reimbursed through the state revolving fund. And although the process for applying and receiving these funds is not ready at this time, it is known that the requirements on materials that need to be purchased, that there will be some requirements that are on that. There will be requirements on the labor that's hired. There'll be high amounts of documentation, and the funds requested will be used in a specific time frame. So once we've requested those funds, we only have so much time in order to be able to use it. The pilot will help us to prepare our internal processes to start that program, and learning more about the available labor force and the supply of materials will be important information that we expect to obtain through this project. To be clear, this pilot is not expected to receive monies from the state revolving fund. We have not gotten the requirements. Certainly, we will try to go back and get the money when those requirements come to us, but I want to be clear that we don't know at this time. The pilot is so that we can prepare to utilize those funds as quickly as we can once they're made available to us. When the program starts in the future, there is also a possibility that we can get funding from the American Rescue Plan Act funds, but I don't want us to count on that at this time because we have not gotten word one way or another whether that's the case. And we will continue to look for ways to be able to get other funding as we're going ahead. But at this time, we're asking for the funds to move ahead with us so that we can obtain the information. Any questions on this, since I know it's there?
I
Director
have
Friend.
really not a question for you, Gina, but I'm just planting a seed for thought. I'm not looking to have a big discussion today, but depending upon what the cost of this is down the road, which will be borne by our ratepayers at some level, or by the taxpayers completely, I mean, whether it's state money or ratepayer money. No objection to it, I'm just saying, do we create or think about creating maybe something on the bill that goes out every month, like we do for other things that show sales tax, that show sewer fee, I mean, monies that if it were, that's not necessarily part of our overall operating expenses, but we're charging customers for that. So for our 42%, if the state pays 58, or if ARPA, whatever that comes down to, is there a way we could put that on the bill? Lead service replacement enterprise, something like that is all I'm thinking. I don't have the details worked out. It just occurred to me that we do list other issues on our bills that are not our operating costs directly, but that we do pass those through to our customers.
So it's separate from the overall billing, it's a
No,
line.
a line item in the bill, like we list, city sewer fee or sales tax or whatever else that we list in there, so that we can point to, and it probably is going to be pennies per month, per user, per customer, but every water customer is going to pay something toward this. Whether they reap any benefit or not is just like they may not reap any benefit from sales tax, but they're paying it. Just a thought.
Thanks for that comment, Director Friend. We have been looking at different things, and that is one of the things that we have discussed about whether or not there could be a charge that we have separate on our bill. We're looking for multiple ways to be able to fund it. We haven't quite nailed that down. We want to see what we're playing with first, what the rules of engagement will be, on it. But that is certainly one that we have been talking about, and we agree that's a possibility for us too.
Gina, what project, if you know, was rescheduled or pushed back, you mentioned?
We've had several projects. We've had some supply chain issues, and also the city has moved it, but this is a relocations project that was on Dodge Street.
So nothing real critical that we're kicking down the road?
It is not one that we are doing. It's because of the city of Omaha delaying the work that's being done, so that money was freed up from that.
Gina, this pilot project, we're replacing 24 lead water services, approximately $200,000. Do you have it? I don't mean to put you on the spot. How many lead water services do we have in?
A total?
Yeah.
We suspect up to 16 to 17,000. We do know we have quite a few of them, but there's some of them that we're not sure on, so we're still getting information back on that, but quite a few.
Okay, thank you.
We do replace some lead services now when we do a water IR main and we touch a service. We are already replacing those, and the difference in this particular one is we're not replacing this main.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know what the exact cost would be, but we're talking over $100 million in the end, if my math is right. So that's
Yes.
why I'm suggesting if there's a way we can create some type of a specific item on the bill so that people know where that $130-some million is going.
Did you hear that gulp that I made when Gina mentioned those numbers?
Yes.
Calculator out.
When we're really working to find ways to be able to see how we can maximize the funding that's available and other options as well. All right, I'm going to continue along if there's no other questions. All right, so item number 1 on building plants and equipment, it's on page 3 for 0.7 million. This is the site header piping and basin 6 rehabilitation. John Zellers will be talking about this later in his bid and materials contracts letter, so I'm going to forego and let him talk about the actual bidding portion of that at that time. This is part of Phase 4 CIP for Florence. As you know, we've been doing this for several years. We've taken 2 projects and we packaged them together to increase the project appeal with the current bidding market. These two projects that we put together were the site header project and the Basin 6 rehabilitation. I was going to show you a picture of the site header project, but there are so many lines on there that I didn't feel like it would be very useful for you at this time. But included in the site header project are the replacement of the site piping and associated valves from both the suction and discharge between the clear well and the Minnelusa pump station. Also included are the site drainage improvements, architectural and structural improvements to Minnelusa, staircase entrance, valve replacements at the river station, and landscaping packages and new pavement. Included in the Basin 6 rehabilitation are 6 sluice gates, replacement of wooden stop logs that are between Basin 6 and the mixing basins, some concrete repairs, replacement of mud valve control lines, resealing contract seams and cracks, and some safety upgrades as well. We expect to have this completed in the fall of 2022. Do you have any questions on any of that?
Seeing none?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from the Director of Plant Engineering, Stephanie Henn, to review the acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Stephanie Henn, Director of Plant Engineering. I have the next 2 agenda items, and as usual, I will be brief. We're going to start with the finals letter behind tab number 6. We have a straightforward letter this month. 3 finals on there, all water development projects. Items A and C have change orders associated with them. Approving these finals also approves these corresponding change orders. I'd like to call your attention to the change order for item A, which is increased cost due to the supply chain. Material prices right now along the supply chain are very volatile, and we're seeing more of these requests currently. I'm also going to be talking about this a fair amount in my next agenda item, but I'm glad to answer any questions about the finals letter at this point. Great, thank you. Moving on. Tab number 7, Gas Infrastructure Partner, continued partnership with Q3 Contracting through the end of cast iron replacement in approximately 2027. We're requesting that the district extend the partnership with Q3 Contracting for an additional approximately 5 years as our gas infrastructure partner until the cast iron replacement in the district system is substantially complete in approximately 2027. We typically would recommend a 3-year partnership extension to you. However, in this case, we were recommending approximately 5 years. We're doing that because that will get us substantially complete with our cast iron gas replacement program. We're also saying approximately 5 years, not exactly 5 years. Again, back to those supply chain issues, which are very significant at this time. Most likely, these supply chain issues are going to affect our abandonment goals numbers this year. We're just not sure quite how much yet, but we think that will extend our program longer than we had originally planned. We also typically would bring this request to you in the fall, prior to the next year's construction season. In this case, we're bringing it to you here in June. Again, back to this is because of the supply chain issues. What we're hoping is that Q3 will be able to, if they can obtain materials, they will order them right away in June, hopefully to get them where they can start right away in February of 2023 when they typically start their work for the construction season. The district began our gas infrastructure replacement program in 2008, and Q3 has been our contracted gas infrastructure partner since 2012, after going through an RFQ and RFP process in both 2011 and 2014. Over this time, Q3 has been a strong, consistent partner. Since 2008, we have replaced over 400 miles of aging gas infrastructure and all the corresponding services with both district and contracted forces. We have approximately 153 miles left of aging gas infrastructure of both mains and services. Our gas replacement program began with lesser goals, and then we worked up to our current goal of 40 miles per year in 2017, and that has stayed constant since then. That 40-mile goal is typically accomplished by 15 miles being accomplished by district crews and about 25 miles being accomplished by Q3 contracted crews. This gas infrastructure replacement program is a district-wide effort by our construction forces, field services, engineering, gas distribution, and a whole lot of people that I'm sure I forgot, but not on purpose. It really takes a whole lot of folks to make this happen. Q3's pricing over the years of this partnership have been very stable, and in some cases actually have gone down year to year. This is primarily due to Q3 utilizing nearly 100% of local union labor and becoming very familiar with the district's protocols at this point. For 2023, Q3 is proposing an approximately 5% increase over this year's pricing. They're approximate, and that hasn't been locked in yet because of the volatile supply chain material issues and prices going on right now. We will negotiate prices with Q3 every year, and if those prices are not favorable to the district, we always can choose to not move forward. Therefore, management is recommending to continue this partnership with Q3 through the end of the cast iron replacement program in approximately 2027 as a part of the district's replacement of all of its critical gas infrastructure. Back to the supply chain issue for just a minute. In full transparency, Q3 is having trouble finding materials for service replacements. Not so much on the main side, but definitely on the service side. We're unsure yet of how this is going to affect our goals, and this is literally changing week to week. We're seeing this both on the gas side and the water side, both with our contractors and internally. And I can tell you, we are doing everything we can to try and help the situation. We have folks looking at this. We're meeting, there's a group of us meeting weekly. There are folks looking at this every day. We have our purchasing folks involved, our stores folks, engineering operations, looking at different materials, different options, anything we can do to help it. Unfortunately, some of the raw materials are coming from Ukraine and Russia. And just due to the pandemic, there are other supply chain issues. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Steph, just to clarify, this is not a contract, it is just an informal partnership? Is it reduced to writing? Is there something in place? And you mentioned that we can get out of this at any time?
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. It is how we typically structure our partnerships is it's just a written agreement between the two entities, but it's all contingent on pricing that we agree with. So yes, we can walk away at any point. There's a new contract every year.
Thanks.
You bet.
Steph, what's our current year pricing with Q3?
As far as like for the whole contract?
Yes.
We spend approximately $13 million, and that's been pretty consistent over the last few years. And just they're proposing a 5% increase.
Roughly 5%.
Roughly 5%.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we will hear remotely agenda item number 4, Vice President of Procurement and Enterprise Services, John Zellers, to review the bids on materials and contracts. Good morning.
Good morning. John Zellers, Vice President, Procurement and Enterprise Services. Bids on materials and contracts may be found under tab 8. There are 2 items that I will discuss this morning, with the first being found at the bottom of page 1. We solicited bids for the boring of approximately 620 feet of 12-inch Hdpe pipe under the Papio Creek at approximately 90th and West Center Road to replace an existing 12-inch steel water main. This work is required as the existing 12-inch steel water main is attached to the underside of the bridge and conflicts with the City of Omaha's bridge rehabilitation project. We are recommending the single bid from TH Construction. They have conducted similar work for us in the past and have performed well. Their bid is approximately 3% less than the engineer's estimate. The last item may be found at the top of page 2. As part of our Florence Water Treatment Plant Capital Improvement Plan, we requested bids for the site header piping and rehabilitation of Basin 6 project that Ms. Langle spoke about earlier. Though we had other viable contractors attend the pre-bid meeting, and despite our and our consultant, Burns and McDonald's efforts in urging contractors to bid, only one bid was received. Prime contractors that chose not to bid indicated they already had too much work, and this sentiment was the same for many subcontractors. Hawkins Construction was the sole bidder. Hawkins' bid is approximately 9% higher than the engineer's estimate, which was equivalent to the project budget conducted last year, over which time inflation has been around 8.3%. After a thorough analysis of Hawkins' bid by our internal and consulting team, we believe that it is a quality bid considering today's economic environment and escalating material costs. The board may recall at the April board meeting rejecting a sole bid as management's recommendation for the Basin 6 rehabilitation project as it exceeded the engineer's estimate. At that time, we indicated that it would be packaged with another project in an attempt to receive better pricing. In April, the bid was $1,976,000 for the Basin 6 work. Hawkins' bid includes $727,000 for the same work, representing an approximate savings of 63% on that particular work. That's all I plan on discussing this morning, but would be happy to answer any questions.
John, I got a quick question for you on the 800-gallon trailer-mounted vacuum excavators. When these bidders place their bids, are they all bidding on the same brand? Like, I know this doesn't apply here, but is it they have to bid on a Ford or they have to bid on a Chevy, or they can bring in whatever they want that meets the specs, or how does that work in this case?
In this particular case, and in a lot of cases of our equipment and vehicles, we have a detailed specification that outlines the performance and the requirements of that vehicle and equipment. In this particular case, they are not bidding the exact same brand. For example, Ditch Witch is a Ditch Witch manufactured vacuum excavator, and I believe Midwest Underground. To be honest with you, I don't recall what that particular brand is called, but it is their trade as well.
I guess I was thinking at one time the operators of this equipment had a preference for Ditch Witch, and maybe that was for a different piece of equipment that was manufactured by Ditch Witch. I just want to make sure, and I know you've probably already done this, but that whatever the lowest bid is, that we're making sure that the operators of this equipment, like you may remember, was he here, Mark, when the Fermec thing came in with the drift on the bucket, and we were getting low bid, but that particular piece of equipment was problematic. And I'm not saying this is the same, that the other one had some safety issues, but at that time there were several pieces of Ditch Witch brand equipment that our operators preferred, and they were a little bit more expensive, but what I was told by the folks that use it is you get what you pay for. So I'm just raising the issue because I want to make sure that the operators of this are okay with what we're buying. Not that that's the sole consideration from this side of it, but that we've consulted them and they're okay with that. This is something that they can work. Does that make sense?
It does. And Mark Doyle, President, Director Friend, that did trigger, I don't remember what year that was, but that triggered a commitment to us at that time that we would have more interaction if necessary from those operating the equipment. And you have a good memory. So I was going to ask Andy to come up, but he's here.
Good morning, Andy Melville, Vice President of Field Service Operations, and that's a great question. And to answer that, yes, we do take into account, before we actually develop the specifications, we get surveys from the operators, take into account the different experiences they've had with equipment, and then build that into the specification to make sure that we're not getting into that type of situation. So in this case, Midwest Underground is bidding the Ring-O-Matic brand, which is actually highly liked by the crews.
I didn't mean to derail us. I just remembered that issue with equipment years ago, and Ditch Witch was a favorite of that piece of it. Anyway, I beat that enough. Thank you.
Yeah, the piece of equipment you're thinking of is our bore rigs, and we've locked in with the Ditch Witch brand for many reasons, including the operators' familiarity with it, also just the supply of spare materials, maintenance. It all kind of wraps into a little bit of what I'm going to talk to you about in the next tab. So.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any others, and it just so happens, Andy,
I'm
you're
up
the
next.
next person.
Yes.
You're going to talk about Vice President of Field Operations, Andy Melville, will review the proposed purchase of 6 track loaders for the district. Thank you.
Good morning again, Andy Melville, Vice President, Field Service Operations. Behind tab 9, we'll find the letter recommending purchase of 6 compact track loaders, excuse me, using a total cost of ownership analysis. This purchase recommendation is being brought to your attention separately from the letter on bids and materials, as we utilized a different approach in bidding for the units and the bid evaluation. As indicated in the letter, the Transportation Division is developing a long-term fleet management program that focuses on full life cycle cost metrics. Total cost of ownership is one of those metrics, and that works with, in addition to the original purchase price, we consider data such as maintenance costs and residual value. When used in the analysis for bids for replacement equipment or vehicles, total cost of ownership metric defines the anticipated long-term cost of the asset, which is then used to select the best overall bid. Going forward, when appropriate, bid recommendations for vehicles and equipment will be presented to the board for your review and consideration of approval utilizing this analytical approach. Our first use of the total cost of ownership metric is for the 6 compact track loaders referenced in the letter. Bids were taken with an annual guaranteed buyback option at a fixed price starting at the end of the first year and continuing annually for 3 consecutive years. The buyback option allows the district to trade in the machine at the end of each year and receive a new machine. This continues until the end of the term, at which time the district receives its final new machine. Accounting performed a business case analysis of each bidder's proposal to quantify the estimated savings through the 4-year term. It was determined that the district will save approximately $60,000 with the buyback option compared to an outright purchase. That increases to $115,000 in savings using a 10-year analysis, which matches the minimum usable life of the loader as we've experienced it. In addition to cost savings, in addition to cost savings, the guaranteed buyback program ensures predictable cost, reduces downtime with a more dependable piece of equipment, and increases employee morale, as these machines will constantly be 1 year or less in age and covered under warranty during the entire time. This analytical approach is used by our industry peers, such as the City of Omaha, OPPD, and each of those companies are managing over 40 loaders a year on similar programs. Management recommends approval of the bid from Bobcat of Omaha for 6 T76 model compact track loaders with attachments and exercising the buyback option. I guess with that, I would take any questions you have.
Don't see it. Well, actually, Director Friend, not right now.
I was promising Jim I wouldn't say
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I guess since Jim and Dave aren't going to extend this, I will a little bit, with their permission. I just wanted to tell the board we appreciate your support on something like this. It's quite different. Andy and the team has put a lot of work into it, and we think it really will have some good, not just financial benefit, but reliability of keeping things going. And we've been after a fleet management program for a long time. And I'm not sure you're ever done, but I sure appreciate the work that's been done and what the outcome of this will be. So thanks for bringing this.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for a great presentation, too.
All right, Services and Extensions, Vice President of Engineering and Construction, Corey O'Brien will review the proposed main extensions. Good morning.
Good morning. Corey O'Brien, Vice President, Engineering and Construction. And I, too, would like to add on behalf of the Construction Division that the efforts that Andy and his group in Transportation to get to a system where we have these machines replaced sooner is greatly appreciated by the guys in the field running those pieces of equipment. So job well done there. Behind tab 10 this morning is our main extensions letter. We do have 3 water main extensions this month. The impact of those 3 projects being 393 single residence lots 1 multi-residence lot, and 3 commercial lots. If you look down at the map, you'll see that we have 1 project in Subdivision 2, 1 project in Subdivision 4, and the last project being in Subdivision 7. A couple of comments on page 2. Item number 1, the Hill subdivision. This is a large development project. I would just simply note that the developer has requested M.U.D gas for this project. Jumping down to number 3, R&R Commerce Park South. This development is being done under our WCD policy, so the developer will be contracting the installation of the mains themselves. And I would note that this project will be utilizing PVC pipe. I would also note that Project 3, it does not lie in our gas service territory, so we will not be serving gas to that project. With that, I would ask if there are any comments or questions I can answer. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Corey. All right, next up, personnel report. Today, we're going to have Senior Vice President and General Counsel Mark Mendenhall to review employee wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Morning.
Good morning, Chair Cook. Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel, appearing on behalf of Ms. Savine, regretfully is not able to attend today. So I will be presenting the next 3 tabs, 11, 12, and 13. Before I begin with 11, I believe typical protocol for Ms. Savine is to go through a employee count, a recap of employee counts. And I believe she is watching via WebEx, so if I screw up any of the script, we may hear her chime in. Let's see, end of May 2021, 811 regular full-time employees, 4 regular part-time employees for a total of 815. To end this May, 839 regular full-time employees, 3 regular part-time employees for a total of 842. We also have 9 temporary part-time employees, and we have 10 summer hires. Jobs in the various stages of placement. Let's see, we've got 12 jobs posted now. We have 21 jobs in the application review or interview stages, and we have 2 jobs that have selected candidates. Okay, moving to tab 11, that is the wage and/or salary letter. Human Resources is recommending the Board of Directors approve wage or salary increases for 8 employees this month. 3 OAC employees due to promotion, 2 OAC employees due to job progression, and 2 SPA job promotions. One of those is an OAC to an SPA, and 1 is an SPA to an SPA. There are 2 ratifications for the month of May, and that was all the notes that she had for tab 11. Happy to try to answer any questions you may have. Seeing none, we'll move on to tab 12. Behind tab 12, you'll find a letter from Ms. Savine, Vice President, Human Resources, recommending a revision to a subsection of the Personal Policy Manual, Section 5. That's the Salary Administration Plan for SPA personnel. The revision would allow for a minimum of a 5% salary differential for supervisors at the time of hire or promotion, as well as during the annual SPA compensation review process. This is in an effort to reduce instances of compression and maintain equitable pay differences. With the approval of this revised language, Human Resources has identified 4 supervisors that would have a salary adjustment due to compression with their highest paid SPA employee. The compression adjustment would be processed with an effective date of June 16, 2022. One of the additional notes that Ms. Savine had on here is we already have language in Section 5 for supervisors related to their highest paid OAC employees. So this is for their highest paid SPA employees. Happy to try to answer any questions you may have on tab 12. Okay, seeing none, you're too kind. Tab 13, that was my regularly scheduled gig here. So this is a recommendation to authorize myself to enter into a purchase agreement and move forward with closing on a piece of property, 4105 South 148th Street. This is a previously declared surplus well house. It had been abandoned and decommissioned. For this piece of property, we did have it appraised. Based on the appraised value, we felt it was appropriate to engage a real estate agent. So the real estate agent went through a listing process, so the property was posted on the MLS. We received an offer just last week from an individual, I believe out of the state of Arizona. It's a $15,000 all-cash offer, and that is within the range of the appraisal. I'd recommend the board authorize myself to move forward with closing on this property. I'd also note that we have two, and we may be having two more. I believe one of Mr. Koenig's staff had forwarded that to me just last week. So we have two other pieces of property that we're working with an agency as well. Just prices seem to be high, and there seemed to be quite an interest in turning some of these small buildings into, I guess, repurposing these buildings. So happy to try to answer any questions on tab 13. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Excuse me. Insurance and pension. Hi, Mark.
Good morning.
Vice President of Accounting Mark Myers will now review the insurance renewals.
Yes, good morning. Mark Myers, Vice President of Accounting. I'll be presenting information related to the renewal of various third-party insurance policies that are scheduled to expire on June 15th. Behind tab 14, you have three documents. The first is a letter dated May 27th describing the renewal and the associated premiums and fees. Next is an executive summary that's been prepared by Aon with an overview of the insurance markets as well as their efforts to renew our policies. And then finally, there's a schedule comparing the current asset values and premiums to those in the proposed renewal policies. I'll be covering these materials, but Dave McHugh, our representative from Aon, is online on the WebEx and available to answer any questions that you may have. As stated in the letter, the proposed renewal contains a combined annual increase in premiums and fees of $167,296, or 16.9%. This excludes the premiums on the cyber liability coverage, which will be addressed separately. Although this 16.9% rise in the cost of insurance is significant, it is lower than the increases we've experienced the last 3 years. For example, last year, the combined increase was about 28%, and in the prior 2 years, it was also over 20%. So it has leveled off a little bit and come down. There are three primary factors, again, continuing to drive this increase. The first is just general market conditions in the insurance industry. The property and casualty markets have experienced substantial claim losses over the past several years, resulting in increases across several lines of business. In addition to that, the district does have two pending open claims that are impacting the premiums. One is related to the flood damage that occurred back in 2019. There's some minor work to be done on road repairs at Platte South, and that one's close to being finalized and closed. The other one is the ongoing property damage at the construction center. So those claims have increased our premiums as well as limited options for quotes from other carriers. So in order to maintain continuity with coverage and these open claims, Aon did not approach others to get bids on insurance this year, but they worked closely with our existing carriers, Aegis and StarTech, to manage rate increases for this upcoming year. And then the third factor is just simply increase in our insured values. Those increased by $102.6 million, or about 10.3%. As the value of your property grows, the insurance premiums typically increase as well. About $73 million of that increase is due to inflation of the value of existing property. Our coverage is for replacement value when we damage of any damaged property. So with rising inflation, that increases the value of the assets, which drives up the cost of the insurance. And then the remainder of that $102 million increase is related to new asset additions of about $29 million. Just to highlight a few points related to each of the policies. The first is the policy covering property, equipment breakdown, and data processing equipment. These are combined into one single rate quote and cover risks such as physical loss or damage from events such as fire, windstorm, flooding, terrorism, and earthquakes. The risk will continue to be shared between Aegis and Star Tech, and premiums for this policy increased by $172,731, or about 20.6%, with about half of that increase being caused by rising insurance rates and half due to the increase in the insurable values of our assets. The auto and construction equipment policies are standalone policies. Auto is comprehensive coverage protecting against damage caused by peril such as theft, fire, vandalism, and natural disasters. Nationwide is the carrier for this policy, and premiums are increasing $4,975, or about 12%. And this is largely due to an increase in the number of vehicles the district owns, as well as a small increase in the cost of the insurance of each vehicle. The construction and contractors equipment policy covers owned and rented equipment for perils such as theft and vandalism. The limit on the coverage is $500,000 per piece of equipment, and the carrier is Continental Casualty. Premiums for this coverage actually are decreasing $11,370, or about 28%. The main reason for this is a reduction in the value of our equipment. As we were preparing and updating our list of assets to provide to Aon for the renewal, we identified some overlap between this policy and the property policy, and some of the smaller tools and equipment were included in both places, so we adjusted this list, reducing the asset value and decreasing the premiums. So to summarize on those policies that I just described, the combined annual premiums and fees total $1,155,022, representing a 16.9% increase over the expiring premiums. And although this is a significant increase, we believe it is acceptable under the current market conditions and considering our two open claims. We did, it should be noted, with input from Aon, anticipate an increase, and we included this in the 2022 budget. So our budget for this year is sufficient to cover any increase that is being proposed. So as a result of that, management is recommending that the board approve the insurance proposals for the period June 16th, 2022 through June 15th, 2023, which reflects total premiums and fees of $1,155,022. In addition to that, in addition to those policies, we also have the cyber liability insurance, which is also up for renewal on June 15th. The cyber insurance market has been very volatile, with a number of large events occurring in recent years, and this has resulted in increased scrutiny by the underwriters, which has slowed down the renewal process this year. Our information technology team, led by Jeff Breesey, the Director of Information Security, has completed some very detailed questionnaires for the underwriters, as well as responded to questions as needed related to our systems and the related IT controls. The underwriters are actively reviewing this information, and quotes are expected to be received here before the renewal date. But because that will happen after this meeting and before the July meeting, we're requesting that the board grant the president authority to execute the cyber insurance policy on behalf of the district once the premium information is received. We would then present this information for ratification at the July board meeting. All right, any questions on any of that information?
Any questions? Thank
Thank
you
you
very much. All right. Those are the presentations, but for the committee meetings, are there any further questions or comments from among the directors? Are there any members of the public in attendance today who would like to address the board? Okay, don't hear anybody. All right, the committee meetings have now concluded. We'll reconvene for a regular monthly board meeting in 10 minutes at 9:15. It's 9:15. I would now like to call the meeting to order. I'm Tanya Cook, Vice Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the regular monthly board meeting this morning, June 1st, 2022. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Bagley.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Frost. McGowan. Howard.
Here. I'd like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. As was announced at previous meetings this past year, the M.U.D board must comply with a statutory requirement under the Open Meetings Act, which limits the number of virtual board meetings to half the total number of board meetings during the course of the calendar year. At this time, there are 4 possible virtual meetings remaining. Once the maximum allowable virtual meetings have been met for the year, a board member may still opt to attend a meeting virtually, but will not be recorded as present in the meeting minutes and will not be able to participate in meeting discussions and will not be able to vote on any meeting agenda items. This announcement is solely intended to ensure this board remains mindful of the statutory limitation. And now, for those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, approval of the minutes for the public hearing, committee meetings, and regular board meeting for May 4, 2022.
So move for approval.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll have the roll call vote.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes. Capital expenditures.
Chair Cook, with your approval, I'll just go 5 through 9.
Yes.
Thank you. So item 5, capital expenditures discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Gina Langle dated May 24th.
Second.
Any discussion on any of those agenda items?
I was just going to do 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 without being directed by the chair like Jack does.
Oh, I see.
So
You're going
I'm
to
just-
read them all. You didn't. Okay.
I have individual votes, but yeah,
All right. I like that
without
idea.
a break.
Keep going. All right.
We got a motion and a second on 5 we need to vote on.
Okay.
He's going to do each one individually.
All right.
Yeah.
Hearing none, no discussion. Roll call.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item number 6, acceptance of contracts discussed in committee. Move approval as outlined in the memo from Stephanie Henn dated May 23rd.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's have a vote.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item number 7, gas infrastructure partner discussed in committee. I move approval as recommended by management outlined in the memo from Stephanie Henn dated May 23rd.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's have a roll call vote.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item number 8, bids on materials and contracts during the month of May, also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Sherry Meisinger dated May 20th.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item number 9, purchase of 6 compact track loaders discussed in committee. I move approval as recommended by management outlined in the memo from Andy Melville dated May 23rd.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item 11, wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. I move that we approve the wage and salary increase and ratifications as outlined in the memo from Bonnie Savine dated May 19th, 2022, and discussed in committee this morning.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Item 12, revised personnel policy manual, section 5 pertaining to job compression issues. I move that we approve the recommendation to add that language to the personnel policy manual as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Bonnie Savine's memo dated May 24th, 2022.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, vote please.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Okay, we have agenda item number 13, sale of surplus property. I move we approve the proposed sale of surplus property located on South 148th Street as presented by Mr. Mendenhall in the committee meetings and as outlined in his letter to the committee dated May 26th, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, vote please.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes. Agenda item number 14, insurance renewals. I move we approve the insurance renewals as presented by Mr. Myers in the committee meetings and as outlined in his letter to the committee dated May 27th, 2022.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote please.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Okay. Other matters of district business for discussion. Do any board members have any further comments? Are there any members of the public who are in attendance that would have any comments or who would like to address the board this morning? Okay. Well, we will not have a closed session today, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Don't think so. Let's vote.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Great. It is 9:24 and we are adjourned.